Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast presented by our good friends at Titan MRI and brought to you, as always, from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Steve Spurrier will be joining us. I do want to say this publicly. It is such a great pleasure to have Coach Spurrier on every Monday and having him just being able to bounce a lot of things off him. He's so much fun to talk to, and we talk before, we talk after, we talk at other times. But again, he's the guy that you want to be talking to. So I guess what I'm saying. Thursday, it looks like we're going to have Brandon Spikes. I'm still waiting for. He's confirmed. Florida's got to give us the okay on that because he's technically a volunteer coach. I think is what it is. And then next week, Coach Spurrier will be on Monday, and then we'll do a show on Wednesday because obviously with Thanksgiving, we'll get it up Wednesday. In fact, Zach and I will talk. Maybe we'll get it up really early, as early as we can, so you guys can have something to watch as you're pounding down your turkey and stuffing. So that's the plan for next week. Obviously, a Monday show and a Thursday or a Wednesday show. All right, let's get to our process service of Gainesville starting five. And we start off, of course, we appreciate Scott Hart and the great people at Process Service of Gainesville. We start off number one with something I believe, and I've been thinking about it a lot, and we'll talk with Robbie about it. We'll talk with Coach Spurrier about it. But that the problem with Florida is not offense. It's not Billy Napier's play calling. It's not that Florida isn't creative enough on offense, doesn't run enough reverses. The problem is defense. And this has been a problem for a long time. The last great defense really was under Will Muschamp. Now, they've had some good defenses, but they've never been able to sustain it over an entire season, and certainly over an entire year or an entire reign of a coach. And that's what the problem is. And that was the problem, obviously, but it's never been as bad as it was Saturday night. Saturday night was the worst. They are now giving up, over the last four games, 533 yards a game and 43 points a game. You can't beat anybody in that. Oh, well, they did win one of those games. They beat South Carolina. But it feels like we're running up against a brick wall and that they've got to get better on defense, but they're not getting better on defense. And the only way to do that is to bring better players in. But you already had decommitments, 2 defensive players this week. And don't think that's the end of those decommitments. You lose games, I know people were worried about that, and it's started to happen. There's also, and I will say this, and you can get mad at me for saying this, but all this negative stuff that all the fans, not all the fans, lunatic fringe, but even just like fans that I respect, did I put that the right way? People that I care about their opinions. All the negative stuff you're putting out there, coaches are using that against you. They're using it. They're going to other players and they're saying, hey, this is the way they treat their coach. This is what they think of Billy Napier. He's not going to be around long. I understand. It's a free country. You want to voice your opinion, but that's happening out there. Florida now 73rd of the country in defense. Weren't they in the top 10 at one point? Like after the Tennessee game, maybe after the Charlotte game, and boy, it's just gone bad. I've talked about it a lot. I still think a lot of it is that they're just not physical enough because they're not big enough because they're so young. That gets me to number 2, which is a point I made in Gators Wire. Gators Wire, I have so much stuff going on, I sometimes forget. But on Gators Wire, I made this point in my 6-pack that I do right after the game, and that is that one play where Jaden Daniels goes 85 yards. Freshman safety takes a terrible angle. Freshman corner can't get off his block. Freshman safety looks like he's running in mud. True freshmen, these all are. And this is what Florida's decided to do. What they've decided to do is not play some of the older guys that they got even in the portal. R.J. Moten, where is he? He hardly ever plays in games. There's other guys that they got in the portal that they just don't play because they got him in. And this is where they missed on the portal. And a lot of people go, we need to get on the portal. Just because you get in the portal doesn't mean you hit on everybody. I mean, the offensive line's a good example of that. Portal's not the answer to everything. It can help you a lot, and it certainly has helped a school like Colorado, now 4-6, by the way, but it certainly has helped FSU, but they've also recruited well. Florida's got to get better at the portal, but a lot of it, again, guys, goes back to NIL. I know. I mentioned this to somebody today. I said, hey, if you went up to the 85 scholarship players on the team and you asked them, what does NIL stand for? I'm talking about any team in America. I bet 50% would know. I don't think it'd be 50. I don't even know. They just know NIL's where I get my money. No, what does it stand for? Name, image, and likeness. I don't think many guys know about that. But anyway, it is what it is right now. Nobody should have been surprised by Florida losing this game. Nobody should have been surprised that Jane Daniels is really good. He's been unbelievable all year. Watched him play all year. He's really good. He shouldn't be that good. He shouldn't have broken all kinds of records. The all-time record in FBS for a guy, first guy to ever go for 350 and 200. He shouldn't have had 606 yards. They shouldn't have 701 yards. I don't care how bad. I don't care if you're going out there with Oak Hall's defense. You should be able to hold them to under 700 yards. Okay? That's inexcusable, and they've got to figure out what's going on there. But again, not my problem, and yet it is, in a way. Let's get to number 3 on the process service of Gainesville starting 5, and that is Jimbo Fisher getting canned. Not quite 6 years into his. And again, this goes back to what we talk about. Give a guy time. Well, they gave Fisher time. They gave him a lot of time. They gave him a contract extension, and they did it because they were worried that LSU was going to come get him. So this is what, and it's what Jimmy Sexton does. He goes to you and says, yeah, Coach really, despite COVID, went 8-1 this year, had a great year. Now LSU fired their coach. They're going to come after him. And so what are you willing to do? And so you panic. It's kind of a panic move by Russ Bjork. And it ends up costing them a $77 million buyout. And it's going to be over $100 million when they get all the buyouts. Because don't forget, when you fire a coach, you're firing his assistants, you're firing all the support people, and a lot of them had contracts, and he got them good contracts because that's how you negotiate deals. Is you want to get the best assistants. I'm sure what Petrino was making was, and Petrino didn't sign a 1-year deal. I can promise you that. So this is going to be a lot of money. But it doesn't feel like A&M's like going, we're just shrugging this off. It's just, hey, look, we light our cigars with hundreds. We don't care. We'll come up with the money, but this guy clearly isn't getting it done. We're stuck in neutral, is what Ross Bjork said, the AD at A&M, and they are. And I know there's a lot of Gator fans that go, no, that's where we are. We're stuck in neutral too. Hey, you got a coach that coached 6 years, over 70 games, versus a coach who's coached, 23 games? That's different. Apples and oranges, in my opinion. But it's going to be a lot of money. That's all I know. So let's get to number 4 on the process service of Gainesville starting 5, which is the Heisman Trophy. I'm a voter. Yes, Jaden Daniels, I went into that game going, I want to see what Jaden Daniels can do against Florida. And when he did that, I went, he's at the top of my list. Now, Doesn't mean he's going to get my first place vote. Doesn't even mean he's going to be in the ballot. But there's only about 4 guys that I'm really considering now, now that we've gotten deeper in. And I try not to let the championship game make a decision for me. All the championship games are going to be played because LSU is obviously not going to be in one. But Daniels, Penix, Nix, Drake May is a guy that I might stick in there, but I find it hard to vote for him. There's a couple other guys that they're still on my radar. But right now, if I was voting, I would vote for Jaden Daniels. I mean, I think he's the best player in the country. It's not his fault. Their defense stinks. And their defense is undisciplined and doesn't play well. I mean, they give up 35 to Florida. Florida went for almost 500 yards against them. Again, the offense isn't the problem at Florida. It's the defense. But anyway, that's where I'm sitting with my Heisman vote right now. Now, again, you can change, and I can't reveal it when I make it. I'm not allowed to. I did get a letter one year from the Heisman people saying that they had read, somebody had sent them, I have my suspicions about who, that I said who I voted for the Heisman, and they sent me a letter saying, we won't allow this. You have to write us a letter. I had to write them a letter saying I will never do this again to continue in my Heisman vote. And the 60s version of me was like, hell no, we won't go. But no, I want to vote for the Heisman. Again, I should be voting for the Heisman. There's about 800 people that shouldn't be voting for it, but I should be voting for it. That's my opinion, which doesn't do any good. Number 5 is the whole Harbaugh thing, which last week I talked about how miserable I was talking about this thing, and then the suspension comes down, which was totally wrong. I'm not saying he shouldn't get suspended. I'm not saying he shouldn't be punished. I'm saying you don't do that on Friday. You don't do that on Friday when they're on the road playing the biggest game of the season so far, and against Penn State. Now, they don't care. It's actually helping them. I'm sure there's a part of Harbaugh that's going, can you guys keep this going forever? Because our guys are going to play harder if you keep me suspended. Suspend me again. In fact, put me out in a field and throw things at me. That'll make our players even more fired up. They don't care about that. The NCAAs look bad. Big Tens look bad. It's war. It's crazy. It is one of the most bizarre stories, but this is amazing. So if you're going to vote for Coach of the Year in the Big Ten, who would you vote for? The guy that ends up winning, going 12-0 and then winning the championship game and goes 13-0? But didn't coach 6 games? What in the world are we dealing with here? Hopefully all this kind of stuff goes. I just want to watch football. I am a football nut. I'm a college football nut. All this other crap is just getting out of hand. But it is not going to stop, and I have to deal with it. All right, we'll take a break, and we'll come back with Coach Spurrier, a guy who never gave me – well, he gave me a little bit of crap, but it was mostly because I was wrong. 90% of the time it was because I was wrong. But we love having him on the show on a Meldon Monday. So we appreciate him coming on. We'll be back with more on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 280 discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
This week, the Gainesville Quarterback Club welcomes program editor and publisher of Gator Bait Magazine and The Buddy Martin Show, Mr. Buddy Martin. Very much looking forward to having him here at the club. And the next week, we have the HBC himself, Coach Steve Spurrier. Can't wait to hear what Coach has to say about this season.
Okay, and welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And Meldon Law brings you, as always, on Mondays, Coach Spurrier. We love having him on. And Steve, obviously, not the result we thought we would see or hoped we would see. But, I mean, nobody thought Florida was going to go into LSU and win that game, especially with Jaden Daniels playing. But I don't think anybody thought they would give up 701 yards.
Yeah, I think we were all hoping that he might need to take one more week off and come back next week. But he was ready to go, and he is a fantastic runner. He might be the best running quarterback there's ever been in college football. And a lot of people got to see that game on TV because it was a night game. Seems like Penn State and Michigan was during the day and so forth. So there wasn't a whole lot of competition. So it might have won the Heisman for him.
Yeah.
Jalen Daniels. Heisman.
That's because, I mean, you have a Heisman vote, I have a Heisman vote. I mean, he's definitely in my top three right now. I mean, things can change as we go along, and I try to be flexible. But, I mean, not only that performance, but it's not his fault that they've lost 3 games. You know, it's because they have no defense, which I still can't explain why they can't play defense.
Yeah, they're not as good defensively as normal, but, you know, a lot of people are not as good defensively as they used to be. These running quarterbacks, I tell you, if I was coaching defense, I would say make the guy throw the ball.
Yeah.
The Alabama quarterback, got to make him throw it somewhere. I mean, you can't just rush it out of your lanes or he's gone, or you can put a spy that tries to shadow him around. But the quarterback run now is half of these teams' offense. Yep. You'd think the defensive guys would have some kind of special defense to stop the quarterback run.
But that's the thing. I don't know what the answer is because not only do you have to have a spy, but you also everybody spread you out now, and this is the offense you started really with the 4 wides. And now everybody's doing that, and then they're running the ball off of that, and it's almost impossible to find a way to stop it.
Yeah, you got to have some really, really good defensive players that can hold their ground and get off blocks and things like that. And Alabama's probably the biggest defensive line and linebackers around, and that's why they and Georgia are going to play for all the SEC here real soon. So I don't know. That's going to be hard to pick that game. Who would you pick right now?
Right now, I'd still pick Georgia. I mean, you can't pick against them right now. I mean, I'd be rooting for Alabama, but I would pick Georgia. Yeah. But I mean, there's conferences that they do play incredible defense. In fact, the Michigan Penn State game got so boring I had to walk out. I couldn't watch it anymore. It was so boring. They ran the ball in every down. So some conferences have a different philosophy about it, but there's no doubt about the SEC right now. It's all about offense. And with Texas and Oklahoma coming in next year, it's going to continue. It's just going to continue to be about offense.
Yeah, that is interesting. They were talking about Penn State. You know, Penn State's great, except when they play Michigan and Ohio State. Yeah, that's right. And Franklin is 4-16 against those teams. And they're saying, well, we're 10-2 every year. That ain't too bad. Yeah. So if they're content on that, you know, he can be there another 10 years probably. But anyway, and that's sort of the way Iowa is. Iowa has one of the best defenses in the nation. And
Worst offense in America.
and
Last place.
And their fans are content with 8-4
Yeah.
and things like that. But they may win their division this year and play either Ohio State, Michigan, I guess, for the championship. So that'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, it is. It is going to be an interesting run down to the wire here with all the teams that are still have a chance to be in the playoff. But obviously, we want to see Florida get things back to normal. And but I said this before, and I believe it. Everybody wants to always talk about how Florida's been in this dirge of not having a good quarterback. Florida hadn't had a good defense in a while, and that's part of the problem that they've had. They just haven't been able to build. The best defenses they've had were under Will Muschamp, and Will was a defensive guy. Now they've hired nothing but offensive coaches, and they've been bad on defense. So they got to figure out a way to get good at both, you know, or at least mediocre at both would be better.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think Dan Mullen was on the radio this morning talking about Texas A&M. R.C. Slocum won the conference there once or twice, I'm not sure. But other than that, he said their history isn't – they don't have any national championships and very, very few Southwest Conference back when they were in it. So their fans, they think if they spend money on the coach and on the players, that doesn't win a championship. No. That doesn't win a championship. So everybody can't win, but most of those schools that financially can are still going to try to win. And they think facilities and spending money on a coach, I don't know if that's the way to do it or not. And it's going to be interesting to see what Texas and Oklahoma, when they come in. Yeah. Is that next year or 25? Next year they come in, yeah. I don't think they're going to tear up the Western Division. So
well, there's no divisions anymore, so it doesn't matter.
Everybody's going to play. That's right.
It's 1 through 16, which is kind of weird. Somebody's got to finish 16th. That's not good for anybody.
Then they have the big playoff, I guess, 12-team playoff. So, it's everybody can't win, and I think some people are starting to realize now that back in the day when teams were going 10-2 and 11-1, that was pretty good. But we used to have some fans at 10-2.
They were not happy.
It wasn't very good. Hey, you did that last year. You got to do better. And I can assure you, all those 10-2s I had, I wish we'd had one more in there.
Yeah, exactly.
That we could have. But we won our share, I guess, when you look back on it.
But that was something we talked about off the air, that if assuming Napier loses these last two games and then goes 12-0 the next year, and this comes from Zach Albaverdi gave me this stat, he would then match Ron Zook's record when he got fired. He would have the same number of wins and losses. So, I mean, that's...
Well, we lost our 12th game 5 years after
5 years, yeah.
So we averaged about 2.5 a season.
I don't think you were ever under 500 as a coach, right?
Well, one season, 92, we opened up 1-2.
Yeah, but
1-2, and then fought back.
Cumulative.
Fought back and won the division that year.
Right.
Yeah, that was a good team. It was sort of a rebuild. I hate to use that word, but it was a bunch of new players in 92.
Definitely.
Because the team we inherited in 90 and 91 was loaded. All the linemen on both sides of the ball were juniors and seniors.
Right.
But that third year, that's why I told somebody, we're going to be pretty good the first two, but that third year, I don't know what's going to happen. But those kids came around. A lot of freshmen, redshirt freshmen were playing in 92. And we almost upset Alabama for that first ever SEC championship playoff game.
I got to ask you what you think about Jimbo getting canned after he's in his 6th year. So they gave him time. I mean, but they put so many. It's almost like the expectations that were put on him. I almost laughed when they did it. They were like, we've got this plaque that says when you're going to win the national championship and everything. But what are your thoughts on what's going on there at Texas?
Well, they gave him such a long-term deal.
I
mean, why would you? But I guess they got some boosters that didn't care how much money you got to spend. But I don't know. He's a good coach, and he's got Petrino running the offense. Their defense is sound. 1 or 2 plays, a whole bunch of games made him a loser. So it wasn't like these guys are terrible. But I don't know. I mean, the fact of college football, any football, is everybody can't win. It's
Everybody's losing a game every week.
It's getting to be like pro football a little bit. Man, those pro games, they go down to the wire.
I know.
4th down, does he make it? Does he kick a field goal? And that's what fans want to see. They want to see close games. And
I made this point that there are going to be 56 SEC games this year. 56 teams are going to lose. So it's the way it works out. I mean, and there are some real disappointing teams this year.
It's always been that way. So the schools with a lot of money, they get all their facilities as good as anybody. And then they got their boosters that can give the money to the guys that you think you have to win big. And then, I mean, South Carolina, they paid a bunch of money to players. That Spencer Rattler, he is a good quarterback.
He is good.
He's a beautiful passer. I don't know if you've watched him.
That
ball zings in there, perfect spiral every time. But he got his share, and they're 4-6, and they've lost some close ones, just like everybody. So the answer to winning big is get a whole bunch of good players and good coaches, head coach and assistant coaches, and win your close games, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's
the way to do it.
I always say that college football season comes down to a handful of plays and a handful of games.
Yeah.
And do you make those plays or do you not? When you've got great players. Now, there are times when you're good enough. Like in 96, you had that run, Auburn, LSU, Georgia, where you just destroyed them.
Yeah, we only we had a couple of years. We had like 1 or 2 close games or 3 and lose 2 out of 3, and that cost us, a chance to win the SEC. So, yeah, you got to win 1 or 2 close ones, and Tennessee was really good those 12 years we were here. We won 7 of the divisions, and they won the other 3. So they didn't have to play. They played Alabama every year, so they had a good schedule. I don't think they played Georgia every year.
No,
they were in the East.
They did.
They were.
But they
LSU,
were.
They didn't play LSU.
But Georgia and Alabama were not what they are now either. They've become totally different animal. Yeah.
But we had some good teams, and could have won some more, but it didn't work out. And the ones that did work out, we could have lost also. So anyway, just look back, do the best you can every year.
So I've never, I always think I've seen everything in sports, and then I see something I've never seen. And this weekend was it, in that we had a game between 2 coaches, and both got fired within 36 hours.
Next day or something.
And I'm like, well, one of them had to win, right? One of them won big.
Yeah.
But Zach Arnett fired at Mississippi State, which was kind of a stunner to me. I thought they would certainly give him more time than a year, but
they had rumored that people weren't happy there. I don't know. The players weren't. The quarterback,
Well, I know he let Steve Jr. go too, and
we let a lot of the offensive guys go,
and
he wanted to do his own thing there. But they did. They changed the offense.
But Will Rogers was really good. Yeah. Why would you? I just don't understand that concept.
Well, I don't know exactly what they were doing, but the guys who played a lot last year on offense are not doing what they used to do, I guess. So I'm not sure about that. But let me tell you a game that was intriguing. Tennessee and Missouri. Did you watch that?
I watched it. Yep.
And I never heard of this guy before. Toby Schrader.
He
set some kind of all-time SEC record. He ran for 210 yards and caught passes for 116. A running back. He's a running back, and a dang good one.
And he is from, where he played
Truman College or something?
Truman College. Truman State.
Yeah, I heard him talking about that.
He was actually played last year, but he would make a play here and there, but he hadn't really done much this year, and then all of a sudden he went nuts in that game against Tennessee.
He was on their team last year?
Yeah, he was on
their
team
last year. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, Eli, he should have played him last year.
He did a little bit.
Oh, he's an excellent running back.
Yeah.
Catch the ball, do everything. But it was, I don't know what happens to Tennessee. They're 4-5 on the road since Heupel's been there, and undefeated at home. 12-0 at home. So
Gotta win. You got to win on the road.
Got to win on the road.
Also, the game that I couldn't watch because I was covering the Florida game, but I had it on the second TV and I kept looking over and then I'm trying to write and the game's going to was the Duke North Carolina game, which was unbelievable finish to that game. It felt like everybody scored like all their points in the last quarter.
Yep. Yeah. Duke and North Carolina. Duke's lost two heartbreakers the last 2 years they're a big rival in North Carolina. Drake May had again an excellent game.
He's
probably
on my
gonna,
list. Yeah.
He's probably going to go pro, but yeah, he and Jalen Daniels are probably the top two. Although Bo Nix
and Penix, yeah.
They mentioned those two.
I think those
there.
are the four right now.
Those are about the four. But I think Jalen Daniels is on top right now.
Yeah, I would say so too. And certainly that was a tough loss for Duke, but there's a lot of it got worse is that everybody's like projecting Mike Elko going to A&M because he coached there. But I don't, you know, it is a lot of pressure to go to a place like that where they are saying win it all or nothing, and yet they've never won it all. I mean, it's kind of. It's not similar to what you did when you came here because when you came here, Florida had won nothing, right? And that was one of the things that made it interesting to you. But A&M's never really won anything either. You know, they won one Southwest Conference, couple of Southwest Conferences, but they haven't done anything in the SEC.
Yeah, R.C. Slocum won, I think, a couple of Southwest Conferences in his 12 or 15 years there. But that's been about it. Texas A&M has not. They've always had good teams, so they're going to have winning records. But I guess it does go to show you how hard winning those conference championships are.
It is.
You look at the SEC. You look at Kentucky, South Carolina. They've never even won. South Carolina has one division, the one we had there in 10. If you go. Like Mark Stoops, I think I saw where his record is 66-60, and he's one of the highest paid coaches in the country.
Yeah,
one of the highest.
Yeah.
So, some places, what's that record? That's about a 7-6 record for 10 years, something like that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and the thing is, there are a lot of disappointing seasons this year, and Shane Beamer's had one of them, but there's been a lot of them around the conference, and. Obviously, we'll see if any other coaches get fired, but not only head coaches getting fired, but assistant coaches. Penn State fired their offensive coordinator.
I saw that. Yeah,
that was a miserable performance by them. But I mean, Michigan's good.
Yeah. Mississippi State fired their offensive coordinator. Next week, the guy came down here and they ran up about 500 yards.
Oh, Arkansas,
Arkansas and beat us. So that seemed to be the way to go.
And then they turn around and get their butts
got
kicked by
Auburn. I thought they beat Auburn at home. I really did.
That was when I kind of went, Florida may be in trouble.
He may have to fire his defensive coordinator this week. But anyway, it's a touch and go and all that. And I don't know.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to be a college football coach.
Well, it's tough to be a coach anywhere.
Yeah, it is.
There's 50-50. Almost everybody has near equal players with the transfer portal.
Right.
And this, so the players are fairly equal.
So it comes down a lot to coaching. And I think that there was a time when it wasn't about coaching, it was about players. But I think that's kind of shifted back because of the portal a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, before we let Coach go, we need to do our Campus USA play of the weekend. And this is going to be an unusual one for you, Coach, because this did not happen in football. But it made me, I don't know, I got a little emotional. And this was Camilo Villegas celebrating his win.
That's right, he's a Gator, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah,
After
he played
8 years of not being able to win a tournament, he went through a tough situation in 2020 with his daughter passing away at 22 months old. And just the way the guys celebrated around him made me so happy for him. He's a great dude. I've talked to him many times on the phone and obviously interviewed him in person. Great guy and a Gator.
Oh, that was wonderful. Yeah, he is a Gator. You know, we sort of forgot about him. Billy Horschel seems to be the only one.
Yeah, I know.
But Camilo was an excellent player. Was it 7 years ago he last won? 8 years ago. But, boy, that was good to see him win. And he said my daughter up in heaven was able to see me win one. Yeah, that was really neat.
Yeah, really sad story, but so happy for him, and couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Coach, you got anything else for us? Are we going to let you go?
Well, it's going to be tough out at Missouri unless they
Yeah.
have a letdown.
Did you now? When
they're
you
a
were in
good
South
team.
Carolina, did you ever play there?
Oh yeah.
Because I know you didn't at Florida, right?
In fact, one of our big wins, we were down 17-0, and I put Connor Shaw in, and he was sick that morning or something, but he came out and had his uniform on, and we're down 17-0. I said, "Can you play?" And he said, "Yeah, I can play." So he goes in there, we tied up, and we go into overtime, and we win in overtime. We had a 4th and 15, and Steve Jr. said the last 4th down they played 2-man, so we called a fork route, and I'd be dang, we hit a touchdown to keep it alive. And then we kicked a field goal, and we forced them to kick one and hit the upright and bounce back.
Really?
It's the only game in my life. The whole game, I'm thinking, I don't know how we're going to win this thing. And even when we kicked the field goal, I'm getting ready for the 3rd overtime. All right, what are we going to call? And all of a sudden, he clanked that thing. And everybody said, "We win." I said, "Oh, you're kidding." And we won the game. That's my first overtime win.
Is that right?
Yeah, first overtime.
How many OTs
And we
did you
won
play?
another one down here. I
That's
lost
right.
4.
Oh, I remember that one very well.
I've lost 4.
Muschamp got fired on that game.
I've lost 4 overtimes and 3 to Tennessee.
Oh, no. That's terrible.
Yeah.
That makes me sick.
Yeah, 2 missed field goals we had shots at, and then we flat screwed up another one. But we lost by 3 points, all of those. But we won one down here in the swamp. Last
I
game,
remember that.
Last game I coached in the swamp, I had a victory. So
What about the stadium there? It's weird, isn't it? It's just
where?
not in Missouri. It's not
Oh.
like anything else.
it's not as modern as everybody else, but
Yeah.
it's probably seats 50, 55.
Yeah, they got those
maybe.
rocks at the end of the end zone.
Yeah.
It always freaks
Yeah,
me out.
they got some tradition there at Missouri.
They do.
You know, we played them in the Sugar Bowl of
Yeah.
65 way back. But they've had some good teams in the past, so they got tradition. They want to win, and Eli, he did a good job of hiring an offensive coordinator.
He did.
And he said it's really helped him to run the rest of the
Be
team.
a better coach, yeah.
Yeah, he called that fake punt against, who was it against 2 weeks ago. And he said, if I'd been offensive coordinator, I'd been worried about what play to call
Kentucky,
next.
I think it was.
Yeah, Kentucky thing. Yeah. So anyway, it is best for some guys to be head coach and let their coordinator do it. I can see that.
Yep. All right. Well, that's it for Coach Spurrier. We appreciate him being on, as always, on Meldon Mondays. We always love having him on the show, and we'll be back with be back with him next Monday.
Yeah.
We'll be here next Monday, and so we'll take a break, and we'll come back with Robbie Andrew, who will join us for Yes, Nowhere, Maybe here on another duly noted podcast. Presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Gator fans, football season is here. What's better than seeing the Gators back on the field? Easy. Seeing amazing speakers and fellow Gator fans weekly at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Held every Tuesday night of a home game at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Enjoy happy hour, great food, valuable insights from yours truly and Andy Staples, plus notable speakers throughout the season. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or visit thequarterbackclub.org. Or better yet, just give me a call and I'll get you to the right people.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another duly noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue
Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
The Kiara Grace Foundation proudly presents An Evening with Tim Tebow, Thursday, November 30th at the Touchdown Terrace at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Experience a once-in-a-lifetime VIP meet and greet with Tim. Hear his heartfelt stories and his unyielding dedication to the most vulnerable. With your support, we can extend the reach of the Kiara Grace Foundation to save precious lives in Latin America. Get your ticket before they sell out. Don't miss your chance to meet Tim Tebow, be inspired, and make a tangible difference.
Okay, and welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Always enjoyed having Coach Spurrier on. Let's talk to our good friend Robbie Andrew. He's brought to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. And we should have some kind of a celebration because today is Robbie's birthday. He is 39 years old. Robbie, what's up?
It's not every day that you turn 39, Pat, so it's a real special one.
It's amazing that you were able to retire at 39.
Yeah. And you know what? You turn 39 tomorrow.
Don't publicize that. I don't want anybody to know that. I just want to get to 69. That's my only goal. Get to that age. That's always been my goal, is to get to 69 over and over and over again.
Well, I made it. Now you have one more day to make it.
There we go. All right, Robbie. I know you weren't enthralled by the results of Saturday night's game, but I said this in the early part of the show. Everybody wants to talk about Florida's offense and quarterback, and they haven't been able to find the right guy at quarterback. And I'm like, Florida's been so bad on defense for the last 10 years. That's the problem. It's not offense, it's defense.
Yeah, Pat, I've been really encouraged with the development of the offense this year under Mertz, and I think Napier's got them playing at a lot higher level. I think they're going to get better, in these last two games. It's going to be a tough test, both games. But you're right, the problem's been the defense. It's been just awful, and all you needed were like 2 or 3 stops in that game, and you could have pulled it out and pulled off the upset, but they just couldn't do it. It was like LSU's offense was going against air half the time.
Yes, it was. I think air would have put up more resistance. But yeah, it's sad. But anyway, we'll talk about that more. Let's get to Yes, Nowhere, maybe brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. And of course, we do this every Monday and Thursday. Thursday, we're going to do it with Brandon Spikes. That'll be a lot of fun. Today, you have to settle for Robbie Andrew. So. Is that
unfortunately for the listeners and viewers?
All right. So for the birthday boy, our yes, nowhere, maybe. Number 1, Robbie. If you had Jimbo Fisher's settlement money, you would buy an island.
I would consider it, Pat. That's an awful lot of money. Where else are you going to spend it all? But I saw today where he's going to get $7 million a year through the year 2031. Could you live on that?
Yeah, I could handle that. It's like I was going to say it's like he won the lottery, but he already won the lottery when he signed the contract. I mean, then when he got the extension, yeah.
He can't spend all that money. There's no way.
Well, I'll help him.
But yeah, I'd buy an island, Pat.
I should send him a text and go, "Hey, Jimbo, we have this golf tournament. You could sponsor a hole."
Yeah, just give us one of your millions.
That's right.
That would make it.
One of the millions would do it for a long time. All right, number 2 on Yes, Nowhere, maybe brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Jane Daniels won the Heisman Trophy Saturday night. Yes, nowhere, maybe, Robbie.
I think yes, he did, Pat. And I mean, you look going into that game. There's been a group of Heisman potential guys, but now that he's clearly the leader after that performance he had. I mean, 606 total yards and 5 touchdowns. I've never seen anything like that before. And I know Florida's defense is bad, but he's been doing similar stuff making those long runs and all those completions against everybody he plays against. So it's not like, it was a Florida thing. It was a Jaden Daniels thing the other night. And I think he's clearly the guy now.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing really well against Alabama until he got hurt. Of course, Alabama already had the lead, but he's let me put it this way. Right now, he's on my ballot. You get 3 votes, so he's on my ballot. There's no question about it.
Yeah, he's got to be on the ballot, Pat. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and I'm not buying the 3-loss thing. Tebow won it with 3 losses. Lamar Jackson won with 3. Robert Griffin won with 3. You can win with that, and especially
and Pat, it's not about the best team; it's about the best player in the country. And to me, he is the best player in the country, not because he can hurt you in so many ways.
I mentioned this to Scott Rabelais, who we had on last week, that he reminds me a lot of Colin Kaepernick in college, and that when he runs, he seems to glide. It's not like, he's putting one leg. It's like he just seems to kind of move wherever he needs to move, like almost like an ethereal spirit or something.
Yeah, you're right, Pat. He's got those long strides, and people are running as hard as they can to try and catch him, and they never catch him. He's a long strider. He's so fluid and smooth that he's an amazing open field runner.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that'll hurt him is he's not going to be playing on the last weekend, and that could cost him the Heisman. Not his fault. He's got a bad defense, as we know.
Yeah, but to overtake him, somebody would have to have an unbelievable last game, Pat, to me, to overtake him.
Well, here's the thing.
Just my opinion.
I really think that the Pac-12 championship game could end up deciding it, because there'll be a lot of people that go, well, Jaden Daniels isn't playing. That's the only game on at that time. If it ends up being a 45-42 game and, one guy does better than the other, we'll see. But I would vote for Jaden Daniels. Right now, if I'm casting my vote, Jaden Daniels is number 1.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Pat, all the way.
All right, number 3, finally on Yes, Nowhere, maybe brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. There will be 4 unbeaten teams in the college football playoff when it's all said and done.
I'd say there's a chance, but I'll go with maybe on that one, Pat. I mean, it's going to be tough to get 4 undefeated teams in there, I think, because you have to play often in championship games and conference. Like Georgia could be undefeated, but they could, Alabama could beat them, and then they're in with 1 loss. So I think it's going to be hard to get 4 undefeated teams in there.
Well, yeah, it might be.
But it's possible, of course.
I think it's the first time I saw Stuart Mandel or somebody tweeted this out. First time in the last, since they started the BCS college football playoff era, that there have been 5 undefeated teams this late in the year. So it's kind of a weird year in that way. But teams that have been good stay good. They keep pulling out wins, and somehow
at least one
game.
At least one team's going to make it in there. That's FSU, because it's going to be an easy path for them to get there undefeated.
Don't say that out loud. I don't want to.
Even though they do have to go through the swamp at night, so we'll see.
Ooh. All right, we'll let you go, Robbie. Thanks. Appreciate you.
Okay, Pat.
Happy birthday! Yeah. Woo!
Thanks,
Happy
Pat.
birthday to Robbie.
Say hi to the head ball coach for me.
I will. All right, my man.
Okay.
See ya. Okay, great to have Robbie on as well as Coach Spurrier. So those are 2 All-Americans right there, Robbie and Coach Spurrier. But only one of them has a birthday today. And only one of them has a birthday tomorrow. All right, let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And, of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. Don't believe me? Check out their 5-star Google reviews or set an appointment at hklawfl.com. Better yet, give them a call at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke, 3 things. Let's start with number 1, which is Shaq's coming to town. He's got to be coming to town because his daughter just committed to Florida. Hopefully she stays with that commitment, because all I want to do is go to the O-Dome and see Shaq and talk to him. Now, last time I was there, I'm not the last time I was there, but the last time I saw, that sounds like Shawshank Redemption. The last time I saw Shaq at the O-Dome, he was destroying Dwayne Shinsis, as I recall. No, actually, it might have been, it was Dwayne Shinsis. But anyway, Shaq was really good. He's my favorite basketball player of all time. So I'm excited that her name, by the way, is, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, Miara, M-E-Arah, O'Neal. And she's considered a top 50 player. So big get for Florida. Kelly Ray Finley, apparently, I've been talking to people about her. She is very good at recruiting. And she's already bringing in 5 stars. And I mean, she just keeps, it'd be nice to have Florida women's basketball, which used to be the kind of the one thing that held down Florida, get back to that point. Where they're good. I mean, Florida's never been great. I say that Carol Ross, I loved her to death. She's always been great to me. And she got them to a certain point, but Florida never really supported women's basketball. And I think if they can bring in somebody like this and some of the other players they're bringing in, it could be exciting around here for women's basketball. It's going to be tough. You got the defending national champs and the best team in America. That's 2 teams you got to deal with. Let's get to number 2 on the Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And that is that I was going to save this for later, but it's getting crazy in college football, as we know, with coaches' firings. But it wasn't just Jimbo, which 10 weeks into the season, Zach Arnett from Mississippi State getting fired, but Boise State fired their coach, which they never fire coaches. They always go to better jobs. But they fired their coach. And Avalos was let go. They were 5-5 and not good enough at Boise State. That's all I have to say about that. But it is crazy. And I think it's not only that, but apparently Chip Kelly's on the hot seat now. There are a lot of coaches. But this is the world we live in now, guys, where because of the transfer portal, you're not given as much time. You're not given, 4 or 5 years. You're given as much time as we decide you need. Now, again, Jimbo got 6 years, okay? He just wasn't getting it done. And I hate that he's gone. I really do, because I liked watching them lose. And I wonder where he'll end up. I wonder if somebody will hire him. He doesn't need to work. We know that. I wouldn't work. If somebody gave me $15 million a year, I would say, hey, here's what I'll do. Nothing. I'll be playing a lot of golf. But anyway, I think he'll coach again. You know what will end up at Nick Saban's Home for Wayward Boys? Just being an analyst there and not caring, but here's one place I know he's not going to end up being a full-time TV guy, because the way he talks, as fast as he talks, and no, nobody wants to hear that. All right, number 3 on Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. I saw a lot of bad calls this weekend, and I'm not going to get into any of the Florida game non-calls or anything. It's part of football. I talk about this all the time. You've got to play around mistakes by officials. Officials make mistakes. The worst thing I've seen in many years was the non-safety in the FSU-Miami game. That was a safety. I know what a safety looks like. That was a safety. Well, Susan Miller-Deegan, who is just won a big award at the Miami Herald, and she is a great reporter. She went to an official to find out why that wasn't a safety. And they said, well, the tackle started outside of the goal line. No, it didn't. It did not. It did not. Maybe he breathed near him during that point of time. But that was it. Now, it doesn't mean that would have made a difference in the game, but it might have. It was just a terrible, terrible call. And I was actually out. I went out to have a hamburger. I was watching football all day. I said, let me just go out and have a hamburger. And I went out. I actually went to Ballyhoo's, and I was talking to a guy at the bar, and he was a Miami fan, and we were just like, there is no way. They showed 100 replays. There's no way that wasn't a safety. I don't care what anybody wants to tell me. That is the worst call I've seen in a long time. Then doesn't mean it influenced the game, but don't tell me that instant replay is there to get calls right, because you still get them wrong. Okay? Please don't tell me that. All right, let's get to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks, and we're gonna take this a little further than normally we do. We're gonna wait till Thursday for you to. Well, you've got till Thursday to make your pick, and we got a lot of people that qualified this weekend. We're gonna give you the Cincinnati-Baltimore game, which is a great game on Thursday night. It's only on Prime Video, but it's still a great game. So, and spreads aren't even out because there's still a Monday night game to play. So I can't give you the spread. We're just going to call it even. Cincinnati at Baltimore should be a fun game to watch, and that's one of those games. And there's not a lot of them on Thursday nights that I will put it on and I'll say, well, I got to leave it here because I can't flip it. If I flip it, it takes 5 minutes to get it back. I'll leave that one on. So that is our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. Let's get to our Adams Ribco to go. Gators of the weekend. Again, multiple winners this week, and that includes all the Gators that played on the tour this week at the Bermuda tournament. What was it called? It was a weird name. Anyway, it was in Bermuda, which not a bad deal there. But Camilo won it. We know that. We just showed that as our play of the weekend. Tyson Alexander, Buddy's son, finished tied for 8th. Fred Biondi, who was on Florida's team last year, tied for 17th. And Brian Gay, I know he made the cut. He finished in the top 40. So what a performance. And that's the thing. I do get tired of watching all these Georgia and Alabama guys in contention of these tournaments. I think Florida's about to have a run on that, where they're going to get up there, where they're having guys that are involved in it. You know, they've had some good players, and it was a little bit of a lull there. And now I think they're going to be back in that situation. They got some other guys that are going to be, Sam Horsfield, who's doing well on the European tour. So, but anyway, Camilo, Tyson, Fred, Brian, you are I can't say it twice. There we go. Adams Ribco to go Gators of the weekend. Congratulations to you. Let's go to our Gainesville Quarterback Club great picks. We're going to pick 2 games, Thursday and Friday. I did really well this weekend. I picked mostly I picked teams that had a big spread, and I picked them, and they almost all came through. I think FSU is the one that didn't. But anyway, I'm definitely in the plus. I'm going to pick the Thursday game, Boston College at Pitt. Boston College getting a 1.5, but I'm picking Pitt. I have no idea. No idea. Please don't bet this based on my pick. I'm picking Pitt, though. And then Friday, Colorado's getting 5.5 against Washington State. Washington State struggled a little bit this year, but I'm still going to go with Washington State in this game. I'm going with home team. So those are my 2 Gainesville Quarterback Club great picks. And they, by the way, Tuesday night, tomorrow night, I'll be introducing Buddy Martin as our special speaker, and that'll be fun. Next week, Coach Spurrier. It's always fun. I got to come up with some good Steve Spurrier stories. I've already told everyone I know, but I got to come up with something new. Maybe I'll call Amy or Lisa and find a good one. All right, let's get to our swamp games of the week. And I'll just tell you that there are games Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on all the ESPN channels. Toledo of Bowling Green might be worth watching. Toledo's 6-0 in the MAC. Bowling Green in their other division 4-2. So it's a big game in that regard. Wednesday's games suck. But there are 2 games that night. And then Thursday you have Boston College at Pitt, which we just mentioned. Also, Monday night, tonight, Denver at Buffalo. Doesn't do much for me. I'll probably watch a little bit of it, but it's on ABC. Thursday is Cincinnati, Baltimore. Again, that's on Prime Video. And then don't forget, Tuesday night, tomorrow night, Florida is playing Florida A&M. And I haven't even talked about the Florida basketball game. That was disappointing. They need to get their point guard back. But what happens if he sprains his ankle? So they need to be in a position where they have 2 point guards. Everybody does. And I felt bad for Walter Clayton. The 2 turnovers late, not good for him. And nobody felt worse about it than him. And like you hear that all the time, but I've talked to people who are around him, and he was totally in the jar. Lift him up Tuesday night. Walter Clayton's a good player. He's going to help Florida a lot this year. That game is at 7, but it's only on the ESPN Plus. That's where I'll be watching it. I will be going to the game Friday night. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, it is time to wrap it up with Pat Dooley's story time. As always, it is brought. Oh, I didn't mention that the Swamp Games of the Week were brought to you by the Swamp Restaurant, but you know that already. But Pat Dooley's story time brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics, our good friend Mike Jordan over there, who does such a great job. It is my birthday tomorrow, so I'm not turning 70. That's all I can say. I hope to get to 70. That will be a year from now. But I started thinking about great birthday parties I've had, and the one that still stands out. There was one that is awesome, off the charts, but it's a boring story. This was a great story, and this is when I turned 40. I turned 40. I was married to Judy, and Judy was great. Judy's a huge part of my life, and I love her very much. But we got divorced. But we were still married. And so she has a party at PJ O'Reilly's for me and Robbie, our 40th birthday parties. And Coach Spurrier shows up, and with Jamie Spronis. And so somebody took a picture of this beautiful young lady and Coach Spurrier, and I have it up on my wall today. And I may show it to you on Thursday. It's of my wife, who I didn't even hardly know. I just met. Just coincidentally, she was such a big Gator fan, Spurrier fan, got a picture taken with him. But that picture is still up on my wall of her and Coach Spurrier from my 40th birthday party, which was 100 years ago. And that, every time I look at that picture, I go, man, those are 2 of the most important people in my life. Well, I would say the most important person and the 4th most important person. Maybe 5th. I'll go 5th. But it was pretty cool. And my 50th birthday party, I kind of have to have a couple of drinks of me to tell all the stories about that, because that was just wild. I mean, Werfel and Doring were there. That's all you need to know. So we had a good devil and a good angel and a bad devil on the other side. But anyway, that's going to do it for our show. Appreciate Zach for doing such a great job, as he always does, piecing all this together. We'll be back with another show on Thursday. Hopefully it'll be Brandon Spikes. I think it will be, but we'll find out for sure in a couple of hours, I guess. I've made the request. And I appreciate all of you for listening or watching. Either way, appreciate you, and appreciate all of our sponsors for doing such a great job. We'll be back with the show Thursday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.